started way back in beginning of 2008, I think, when CDT got the community together to vision what they'd like down at Cultibragan. And the two big things that came out of that meeting were that they would like allotments for sure, and the next thing was an orchard.
We've been running for about 6 years now, and obviously the work has been building up over that period, but it started 6 years ago.
First of all, we thought it was going to be in the area north of the allotments, in that open area there. But then we looked at the assault course area, and it was felt that that would really be good for growing espaliers and cordons. So we took in some extra along the side of the allotments. I think there were 10 of us. It was originally the Woodland and Orchard Working Group, and we sat together to decide A, on how we were going to get funding, and B, what trees we thought we could plant. So by 2010, we had funding. We had funding from Awards for All, from LEADER, from Perth and Kinross Council, and a couple who had connections with the village kindly gave a number of trees for their wedding gift. So we had to obviously think about the varieties of trees that would work for this part of Scotland. And we took advice, particularly on the apples that would work in the centre of Perthshire. We finally ordered apples and plums, pears, damsons, gages, Morello cherries, and also quite an extensive area of Edel hedge.
We meet once a month formally, where we have a group of volunteers of up to 12 people would come, sometimes more, sometimes less. And then anyone who wants to can come during the week. We do more specific tasks during the week, such as pruning or fruit pruning, which is thinning the fruit out in the summer. We sometimes do pollinating, anything specific that needs doing outside the workday. But the workday is the first Sunday of each month, and that's when we have a list of jobs to complete.
No, I think the whole idea of having an orchard in the village was to really show the type of fruit that could be grown in this area. Once we got established, people could come and look and see what we'd grown, how we'd grown, on what rootstock, what works, and obviously come and taste the fruit. And a big thing was for children, young people to come and see an orchard, especially when the blossom's out, just for the local people's enjoyment, for families, and especially with the shepherd's hut. It's a lovely place for people to have picnics and really just to come and visit the beautiful orchard. The planting was carried out through that early spring of 2011, and by that time we had planted all with the help of various groups from the village having planting days, and we got everything in, including the edible hedge.
Okay, well, the trees have now become well established. There's around about 180 trees. Most of them have survived. We've had one or two. The main losses have been the plum trees, which have a much shorter life than the less hardy trees, but generally the survival has been excellent. So we're very pleased with that. We are now looking to the future, and we are taking cuttings from the trees and grafting them onto rootstock, and that will give us new stock in the future. The trees that we're using tend to be the best performing trees in our environment. So the trees we will create are specifically tailored to Comrie and cultivar. So the Apple Day was held on the 25th of October. I think that's right. And we basically in the week leading up to Apple Day, we collected apples from the orchard. And we also importantly collected apples from the village. We put out an advert asking people if they'd like to donate apples for us to press for juice. And we had donations which ranged from one bag of apples to literally one house donating a whole mini orchard of apples, which was fantastic, to local estates who also gave us. So we had a good number, probably about 50% of the apples were donated and 50% were from the orchard. The Apple Day largely consisted of, we demonstrated pressing the apples and producing juice. We demonstrated the different varieties of apples, the different uses of apples, such as all the ways to produce cakes, etc. We had apple printing for the children. We had probably about 20 varieties of eating apples for tasting. And the purpose of that really is to demonstrate to people what would do well in our climate in Comrie. And the most common question asked is, I'd like to plant an apple tree, what's the best one to plant? Yes. So in addition to the juice, we were also selling apples as well, both cookers and eaters, and that went on the back of two pop-up stalls which we had in the square in the village, which was very successful at demonstrating the varieties we had, and particularly the plums. We had a waiting list for plums. People were queuing up for the plums in particular, and it's a good way for us to advertise what we're doing in the village.
Some of the challenges we've faced have been more related to perhaps wildlife, and we've had quite a lot of problem with rabbits and even hares, and we have put tree guards on, but even in the winter months, particularly when there's snow on the ground, if the trees get attacked by rabbits and they're chewed right the way around the bark, this can kill the tree. I think that's probably one of the main challenges we've had.
We're looking to the future to do we're interested in pollination in particular, and we'd like to create more of a wildflower meadow within the orchard, which will attract pollinating insects as well as being a beautiful thing to see. And we're creating that with hand scything, which some of our group have been to Romania and seen it going on there, and also planting seeds as well. We have this vision of within 20 years we will have a beautiful blooming orchard. And when you plant trees, you really don't plant them for yourself, you're planting them for the next generation. So we're hoping that we can encourage some of the children in the village to get involved in apple days or coming up at different parts of the season, see the flowering, the blossom, the fruit developing, and particularly tasting ripe fruit from a tree. That really to me is the raison d'etre. A tree picked at optimum ripeness from an orchard is, in my view, much better and much more sustainable than anything you could buy in the shops. And we'd like the kids in the village and from elsewhere to really discover what a fresh plum or an apple tastes like.
We certainly do look for volunteers. We're always looking for volunteers, especially on our work days. Families, anybody who's interested even just coming to join us for an hour on the first Sunday of the month when we have our work day. We welcome anybody to come along and have a look when we're down there on our work days. We'd be very happy to see any volunteers.
And we can talk to people in an environment where they've tasted something and then say, if you'd like to get involved, come and join us, because we are always looking for more volunteers.